Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahakadosh. Shalom to Allah Akim preaching His word in truth and in sincerity and in faith. This is your brother Yeshaya back with another lesson. And the title of the lesson is going to be Top of the Food Chain, right? And what inspired me to do the lesson is, I watched somebody swat down a fly, and after they swatted the fly down, they sprayed it with a spray bottle, right? Which I found kind of odd. But as I was watching this, I thought about the fact that when someone kills a small animal, right, such as a fly or an ant or maybe a worm, you don't give too much thought into it, right? You don't feel bad for it, right? Basically you don't value that animal's life, for a lack of a better term, right? Most people are willing to kill small animals, right? You might have a few people, right, that are, very conscious of this thing, right, of killing, right? But the average person, I would say, doesn't think twice about killing a fly or killing, most bugs, I would say, right? But even when you consider larger animals, you think of a cow, right? You think of a goat, right? Most people wouldn't, the average, I'm speaking for Americans, Babylonians, right? Because, here in America, you grow up a certain way. The average American doesn't grow up killing the animals that they eat, right? It just goes to the store and you eat it, right? But the point being is the average American, they eat meat, but they don't feel bad for the animals that had to be killed in order for them to consume that flesh, right? So that's the point being, right? Most people don't feel bad for animals as it pertains them being put to death, right? And it's gonna be, it kind of made me draw that parallel with the angels, with the Heavenly Father, and what's going to be us in the kingdom, right? First and foremost, the Heavenly Father's elect, and ultimately the entirety of the nation of Israel. We are the top of the food chain, right? When you don't feel bad when you kill a bug, because you know that you're above a bug, right? You're physically superior, you're mentally superior, right? So when you're superior to another animal, the value and the guilt that comes with taking that animal's life is kind of, it isn't really there, right? You don't feel bad for killing an animal. You feel, above that animal, right? So let me bring out a few precepts. I don't want to you brothers and your sisters to edify. But this is the book of Second Kings, chapter 19 and verse 35. It says, "And it came to pass that night that the angel of Yahweh went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians, like it, an hundred fourscore is 80, 180 and 5,000. And when they arose in the morning, like it, early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses." Yeah, so this angel, like the Heavenly Father, sent his angel, and he put 185,000 people to death. And that's a lot of people, especially considering in these times, right? The earth wasn't as heavily populated, right? Right now, I believe there's 8 billion, right? There wasn't as many people on the earth, and the angel uh killed 185,000. And after, the angel killed these people, put these people to death, the angel didn't feel any type of guilt, any type of shame, right? Any type of compassion, right? Because a lot of times you'll have a lot of these military men, when they go over and fight these wars and they kill people, the guilt and the shame from putting someone to death consumes them, and a lot of times they end up committing suicide, right? But the angel of the Heavenly Father are not so. The angels of the Heavenly Father are not so. They can put 185,000 people to death and don't even bat an eye, right? And the point that I wanted to make of the lesson is, in the kingdom, that's how we are going to be, right? As cruel, right, as evil, right, to the average person as that may sound, right? That's just what it's gonna be, right? You're gonna be able to put a multitude of people to death and not feel any type of way about it. Just like if you kill 100 ants, you're not gonna feel bad about killing those ants because you know that you're physically and you're mentally superior to that ant. So this is the book of Romans, chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, but if our unrighteousness brings out the most high's righteousness more clearly, and this is in the NIV, I should say. It says, what shall we say? That the Most High is unjust in bringing his wrath on us? Yeah, so the Heavenly Father judges the earth, right? If people are committing wickedness, he puts them to death. That's the ultimate form of judgment, is putting someone to death, right? When during the time of Noah, right, it says the earth was exceedingly wicked, right? It says every thought of man was wicked, right? And the Heavenly Father brought the flood and put those people to death, right? It says that the Most High is unjust in bringing his wrath on us. Yeah, some people will be of the mindset that the Heavenly Father is unjust by bringing judgment on wicked individuals. It says, I am using a human argument. Certainly not. If that were so, how could the Most High judge the world? Right? So if the Heavenly Father didn't bring his wrath upon the wicked, if the Heavenly Father didn't put people to death, how would he be able to judge the world? Right? Because a lot of times you see with these different Western countries, right? People will commit certain crimes and they just put them to jail. They just put them in jail, Salakia. But a lot of these demons, right? These people, they don't mind going to jail. They got friends in jail, right? They can, go in jail and do some more wickedness, wreak some more havoc on some unsuspecting souls, right? So prison isn't enough of a punishment, isn't enough of a judgment, right? The ultimate judgment being death, right? I would say the most people fear death, right? Even you could think of the toughest, hardest, strongest person, and when push comes to shove, they're gonna be afraid to die. Now, not to say that everyone is afraid of death, but I'm saying the vast majority of people are afraid of death. So when it comes down to that ultimate judgment, then they truly are going to fear, right? And really, the Heavenly Father just has to get rid of certain people on the earth, right? Rid the earth of that person's wicked spirit. So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 39. Yeah, the point being was, it says, how can the Heavenly Father judge the earth without bringing his wrath, without putting people to death? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 39. It says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. Yeah, no one dies without the Heavenly Father say so. Just like the angel in 2 Kings, the 19th chapter, put 185,000 people to death. It was because it was a commandment of the Heavenly Father. It says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Yeah, if the Heavenly Father has deemed you worthy of death, you are going to be put to death. Nothing you can do, right? You watch that movie or those movies, those Final Destination movies. Those people would do everything within their power to try to escape death, but death always got them in the end, right? So there's nothing you can do to deliver yourself out of the hand of the Heavenly Father. Yeah, but the point being is the Heavenly Father says, I kill and I make alive. Yeah, everyone that dies is because it was the will of Yahweh Shem Shai. And a lot of people would consider the Heavenly Father to be a mass murderer, right? Which that is the case, right? He is a mass murderer, but not in a wicked sense. He's a mass murderer in a righteous sense, right? He is the judge, and the ultimate judgment is the Heavenly Father putting you to death, right? A lot of people would deem the Heavenly Father to be wicked or evil, right? When you read a lot of the Old Testament, the Heavenly Father was putting countless of people to death left and right, right? The New Testament doesn't really speak about it like that. So in their mind, the Heavenly Father done changed, right? Which that's not the case, right? But for the Heavenly Father to be the judge of the earth, he has to put people to death, right? And a lot of times when the Heavenly Father brings forth his wrath, brings forth his judgment, it appeases the Heavenly Father's wrath, right? He calms down a little bit. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 15. It says, "It is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity." Yeah, it says, "It is joy to the just to do judgment." Yeah, so the Heavenly Father takes joy in passing down his righteous judgment, right? And anyone of in their right mind, in the right spirit, would you would take pleasure in righteous judgment, right? If somebody commits wickedness and they're punished for that, for the wickedness that they do, you're not gonna feel bad for them. You're not gonna feel sorry for them, right? You ain't gonna cry no tears for them, right? That's the right spirit to be in. Not justifying the wicked. I believe in the book of Proverbs it also goes into that. Proverbs, the 21st chapter, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I might be thinking of a different one, but it's all good. Yeah, it says it is joy for the just to do judgment, right? And that's the spirit that we are in, and that's the spirit we're going to be in, more so when we're given those spiritual bodies. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 82, in verse 6. It says, "I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High." This is speaking about the Israelites. It says that we are gods, right? When you go into that word for God or gods, which the Hebrew word is Alahayim, right? It goes into judges. It goes into, I believe, where did I see it? It went into a ruler, right? Not just a judge, but one that rules. I know exactly where I saw it. Let me see. Oh, Khan Salaki, it's right here. It says rulers, judges, right? So we are going to be the rulers of the earth, and we are going to be the judges of the earth, right? And in order for us to be a judge, a righteous judge, we have to be willing to put people to death, right? To pass down that ultimate judgment. And as a ruler, right, rulers of the earth, we understand that all of these heathen nations, they are beneath us, right? Just the same way you consider a ant to be beneath you, right? It's the same with the heathen, right? They are beneath us as Israelites, right? And it may sound it may sound kind of harsh. It may sound like some Israelite supremacy day. It's just the truth, right? Don't be mad. Don't be mad at us, right? Be mad at the word of the Heavenly Father. Like the Apostle Tahar says, we're not a hate group. We're a truth group. So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 110 and verse 3. It says, "Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power." Yeah, so even for those of us that believe in the word of Yahweh Shem Shai, right, and are obedient to the word of Yahweh Shem Shai through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, even us being in his flesh, right, there's certain things, we have certain limitations, right? We have these emotions that can hinder us, right? A lot of times your emotions can get in the way, right? As it pertains to judgment, right? I would say the average brother, if told, right, to put a child to death, that either the average brother wouldn't be able to do it, right? Because we grew up different, right? When you think about men like King David, that was putting people to death left and right, they grew up in a different time. We grew up in a in a weak society, right? Mentally, right? Those before us were mentally, not only physically stronger than us, but mentally stronger than us, right? So we grew up a lot different, right? Like I was saying, the average brother, if told, right, let's say told by the Heavenly Father to put a child to death, you would be kind of hesitant, right? And even if you were able to go through with it, you would feel a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, right? speaking, in a spiritual sense. Right now, I know a lot of brothers would jump up like, nah, I ain't gonna feel bad at all. Right? Just being honest, being in this flesh. Right? Even I remember I saw, you know, I think I was watching RT and they were showing different videos of them Palestinian children getting bombed, bodies being mutilated, right? And you feel bad for them, but then at the same time, you're not considering that most of them Arabs, they're a bunch of racists. They hate our people, right? So those little Palestinian babies, they gonna grow up to hate and seek to oppress our people, right? Seek to keep you down, right? They gonna grow up to be your enemy, right? So in the flesh, you seen these little kids, little babies get bombed, so you feel bad for them. But really, when you consider it, there are enemies, right? You really shouldn't feel bad for them. But trying to make the point that the flesh, your emotions can tend to take over, right? But in the kingdom, right, when the heavenly Father gives us those spiritual bodies, right, we're not gonna feel bad, right? Every righteous judgment that the heavenly Father, every righteous commandment, right, which all the commandments of the heavenly Father are righteous, Salakia. Every commandment the heavenly Father gives us, we're gonna do it without batting an eye. We're gonna be as the angels of Yahweh Shem Shai, right? You're gonna be able to put countless peoples to death, and you ain't gonna feel no type of way. You ain't gonna be guilt and shame ain't gonna be eating you up, right? So that's the point. It says, "Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning, thou hast to do of thy youth." Yeah, so the Heavenly Father is gonna give us that spirit to be able to pass down judgment, to pass down vengeance, right? So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 20. It says, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider." Yeah, so the Heavenly Father is going to use his elect men to pass down judgment, to pass down vengeance, right? To pass down his wrath. It says, "With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young." Yeah, the average Israelite, right? Those of us that believe in the word of Yahweh Shemel Shai, right? If you were to have to, and not to say that we, would ever do anything like this, right? You got to put that out there. They like, look, he talking about killing people, right? We're not going to kill anyone, right? But if you were had to kill an old or a real old person, like an old lady or a young baby, you would feel bad. But in this time, right, when the Heavenly Father brings back His Son, right, sends back His Son, right, you're going to your spirit and your mind is going to be, our spirit and our minds are truly going to be one with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? It says, "And with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the mid." Yeah, the same way you don't feel any type of way when you squash a ant or you swat a fly. It's gonna be the same way with these wicked people, whether they're old, whether they're young, whether a man or a woman, right? We're going to be able to pass down righteous judgment and not feel any type of way about it, right? So I'm gonna end it right there. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters were edified. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakadosh. Again, Shalom to the Heavenly Father's elect. Shalom.